Welcome back to another Exploded Figure Review. Today we are looking at the Legionscon Exclusive Crossroads set. This is the female figure here. So you can make either the Churel or the Nymph, or you can just mix and match the parts and make whatever you want. So first off, I want to thank Joe Viteri and Jeremy Gerards for sending me an advanced copy of this figure so that we can explode this out and have you guys take a look at it. When we do, I'm going to take the trays out first and we'll look at like what's in the trays, and then we'll explode everything out. And then what I'm going to do is have a picture of that exploded view of it, laminated it on my table at Legionscon. So I am at table 9 at Legionscon. The exclusives will be at table 10 right next door. So if you're at that table and you're trying to make those final decisions on how many of these you need to buy, you can pop over and take a look at that view, and maybe that'll assist you in the process. So let's go ahead and break this apart and see what we got.
Art by Akerman, art by Akerman. You best get ready, because now it's time for Art by Akerman.
All right, so here is a look at the female Crossroads figure in the trays. As you can see, you've got multiple different head options. You've actually got a total of 5 heads in here. 4 female heads, and then that one zombie head that is in the scaphoid colors, which would go really great with that new scaphoid Legacies that's also out at Legionscon. You've also got some accessories, some weapons, the little fairy wings, some soft goods. So there's just a lot here. Let's go ahead and explode this out into all the smallest pieces that it can come, including stuff that may be glued on. And we'll just see how much stuff is really in here, all broken down. So let's take a look. All right, so here is the exploded view of the Churel / Nymph. So there's just a lot of stuff here. As always with these Legionscon exclusive sets, they just jam-pack these things full of stuff. So let's get right into it. Starting off with the Churel head. It's basically just a Beluolith head, the one with the nose on it, that is repainted. So you can see kind of the decay and nastiness on there. And it does come with this white hairpiece that just pops in there like that. So the head has a key on it on the top, and then the hairpiece has a hole that fits that key. And you just have to line it up. And then once you get it lined up properly, you can kind of just pop it in there. And then you get that look there for the Churel. The next head is the Nymph head. And this is basically the Ghost of Christmas Past. There's a few heads with the Ghost of Christmas Past. There's like the scarred up ones and stuff. Obviously the surprise one that came with it. And then you have this one, which I'm calling like the pretty one. And it's a, a repaint of that in this like grayscale that's very thematic throughout this figure. So yeah, you've got this, pretty repainted head with the black eyes. This one has kind of a ring key on the top and then a hole in the middle. And then as you look into the hairpiece, you've got that ring kind of that goes around that key, and then a peg that goes into that hole. So it's, very particular shape there that you have to line up. And once you get it lined up properly, you can pop it in and you get this look for the Nymph. Now, these hair pieces, because this one has a peg and that one has a hole, they're not just swappable amongst the heads. But as a customizer, if you wanted to make it work, you absolutely could. You could trim some of this kind of ring part down, and you could, glue this in here with some hot glue or something like that, and you could make this look work if you wanted to. Or if you wanted to do the Churel head and put it in the Nymph hair, this one has a peg and this one has a peg, so you'd have to probably slice that peg off, maybe even kind of Dremel a hole for the hair peg to go into, but then you could kind of slide that in there as is. Because it's 2 pegs, you're going to see this kind of huge gap right there. But if you wanted to make this work, you absolutely could make this work. So going into the next head, which is basically like the repainted Ziri head. You can see it's kind of got that pointed ear here on the side. Same color scheme as far as the paint job goes. This hairpiece is not one of those ones that's meant to come out. The other two just pop out, but this one was actually glued in. So it goes in, I'll try to do this without heat, but it goes in like this. So this is the overall look that you get on here. Because that hair swoops down to the one side, you don't have an ear on this side. And once again, different system, so it's not just going to easily pop onto the other heads. But if you wanted to customize this, you could definitely make this work if you wanted to on one of the other heads. Next, you have the Queen Urxa head that's repainted. Once again, similar grayscale paint scheme. This one has the white eyes like the Churel does. And this one had a lot of stuff that was glued to it. So we're just going to kind of break this down. And starting off with this piece, you've got this giant key that's coming out the back. And it's got multiple things that go on here. So you first got this piece here. So this slides onto that key. Then you've got this like skull part that glues into the top. And then finally, you've got this like hair piece on the back that goes on there as well. So that is the look for the headpiece and hair. And then you have these, like braids or whatever that come down the side. Now, those are glued in as well. I'm probably not going to be able to get that to stay without glue. But when we go to do the fast motion, we'll put all that back together. But we'll get the other one. And, that's kind of the look that you get from that. But we'll look at it once it's all glued back together. So a lot of pieces on here. All of them were glued. None of them were meant to really swap off, but you absolutely can. Okay, and then the last head on here is one of these zombie in the scaphoid color heads. And it has this separate piece. Once again, this is a glued piece that is basically the inside of the mouth. So it's the tongue, the roof of the mouth that kind of pulls out from the back. So you have this look initially, but if you didn't want the inside of the mouth and you wanted it to look more skull-like, without the mouth inside, you could definitely take that out. Or if you wanted to use this for something else, I'm not sure what you'd use an inside of the mouth for, but you definitely can. So this is, once again, one of those pieces that is glued in, but if you want to remove it, you definitely can remove it. So that is the final head. So in total, you've got 5 different heads. Then moving down into the body, you have this upper torso, and it has this kind of cover piece for the chest here. And if you look at the back, it looks similar to like this one, right? And initially I thought it was the same one, but there's a couple big differences. One is this one has the articulated neck, whereas this one doesn't. So you've got, where this will go back, it'll go forward. So it does have the movable neck peg there. But the other thing is that this one, so when you remove the front piece on this one, you've got the keys that stick up, right? And then the chest piece itself has the holes that pop into there. Whereas this one, when you pop it out, the holes are in the torso and the pegs are in the chest piece. So a little bit different design. If you just look at the back, it looks like they're the same. But when you look at the front, they changed the engineering just a little bit on these to where the actual pegs are on the chest part and not on the torso itself. So let me move that over the side. But this is that look that you get from that. And then it's got this, lower torso piece that pops into here. And that uses a peg to hold these two together, which is right here, which I thought was really interesting because it's like this teal color. And nothing on this figure is teal. Now, obviously, this is a piece that's not going to be seen, so it doesn't really matter what color it is. I just thought it was interesting that it was a teal piece in here. But the big ball joint on this barbell goes into the lower part of the torso, and then the lower or the smaller ball goes in the top part of the torso. So, and that holds that all together. Then going into the arms, you've got, these are kind of similar to the Ghost of Christmas Past arms. So it's bare upper, bare lower. You do have this little bracer here that can go over here. And then it's got a hand on here that has the horizontal gripping or horizontal hinge, and it's a gripping hand. So that's what's on here initially. But you do have other hands, which we're going to look at in just a minute. Then going down in the lower body, you've got first off this kind of pelvis piece, which is standard 2.0 pelvis piece. Does have a boom boom hole in the back, as well as a cover for that boom boom hole. Then you've got a few different things going on here with the waist. So you have this soft goods set, which is kind of a tattered, more like a canvasy type material, with some holes in it. It is wired on the side here. There's a wire down the middle of the back, a wire on this side, and then the kind of loin piece going down the middle is wired on both sides. So this goes into that, or it kind of goes over this. You also have this piece here that goes over that. And then you have this piece that goes over that as a belt. And all of this pops into the torso. And then there's a few other pieces with that belt that we'll look at here in a second, but that's kind of how that construction goes in. So let me take that apart and then we'll look at the belt itself. Okay, so taking a look at the belt, this is similar to the Bluelith one that we've already looked at in the past, but it has this attachment for the whip that goes on here, so that, you know, once again, another one of those pieces that's glued on. So with heat, I took that off. You then have this like hand, this little like skeletal hand, and that is attached over here. Once again, just kind of glued in. And then you have this little skull, and this little skull is attached right here and glued on. So you have 3 attachments, those 2 and this one. So that's the, you know, that's what that looks like all together, which we'll show you after we do the fast motion. But all of those pieces that I mentioned, those 3, can come off with a little bit of heat if you wish. So then going into the legs, you have, once again, similar to the Ghost of Christmas Past, you have this bare hip joint that goes into the thigh piece. You know, has that grayscale color, but there is a lot of like highlighting and shading and stuff on here too. So it's not just like one solid color. Then that goes into the bare lower leg. So there's the bare lower leg here. And then they do have these like anklets on here that slide over this. Now, you know, because it slides over, if you wanted to, you could use this as a bracelet or whatever you wanted to. It is a little bit thinner than the bracer though. So if you look at this, you know, not as you know, thick as the bracer. The hole is about the same, might be a little bit tighter, but it's pretty close. But yeah, you could use either of these as a bracelet or an anklet. So, but that's how this one was on this out of the package. It was on there like that. Then you go down into the ankle and foot itself. We did remove the ankle here, but that just pops into the foot here and then goes into that lower leg. So completely bare lower leg, completely bare leg altogether, and completely bare arm altogether. So, and then there's one of the feet there. So that's what that looks like. Going into the other accessories and stuff. First off, you've got this cage. Once again, very similar to the Bluelith cage that we got. Has this bottom piece on here, has the cage part, and then has this clip for the top. So that's what that looks like, and that will fit on the staff that we're going to look at in a minute if you want to. Then you have one of the rats. So this is the Ganesha rat. We've also seen this in a few other things. There's going to be a gold one at Legionscon in the armor experience. So they're definitely getting their use out of this rat at this point. So, but this might be the best painted one. Love there's some color transition from like a light gray to a dark gray. You got the pink feet, pink ears on here. So yeah, it's kind of a cute little rat. Then you've got a few extra things that can go like on the belt. So you have this like pouches and different things here. There is a peg on the back that it looks like that could come off. Looks like that's glued in. Didn't know that that was really going to be any sort of benefit to take that apart, so I didn't bother doing it, but it does look like this black peg could come out if you heated that up and wanted to take that out. So then you have this little skull, a little like bird skull, that also clips onto the belt. Once again, this black piece I believe would come out if you wanted to. You could heat it up and pop that out if you just wanted to like use this skull as like a dio accessory piece or something like that. Or you're going to glue it onto a set of pauldrons or whatever. And then this is another little kind of set of bones that you can hang off of the waist piece. Once again, has that little black clip, so you could take that off if you wanted to. Then we'll go into the hands. So in addition to the gripping hands that have the horizontal hinge like we talked about, you also have a set of gripping hands that have the vertical hinge. So you can kind of loft a weapon or whatever. So you've got those. Try to get a good view of that. So that's what the hands look like. And then they've got that vertical hinge. Then you have a kind of set of like expressive hands. So kind of the claw grabbing hands. These have horizontal hinges. Everything else is going to have horizontal hinges except for those vertical ones we just showed you. And then finally, you have a set of kind of open hands, almost like a casting hand or something, or reaching out hand. And once again, horizontal hinges on these. So, and that same kind of grayscale, light gray on the skin and dark gray for the nails, that same color scheme that's kind of been throughout. Then you have another soft good piece. We showed the soft good piece for the waist, but then you also have this piece here. That is, it's almost like the Maxilius piece, but not quite. It's got this like really deep hood at the top, and kind of, you know, like goes around the figure like this. So, really neat piece. And it's kind of that similar, like thinner material that what like the Maxilius robes have. It is wired all the way down the side as well as across the bottom, up the other side, and then it's wired around this opening for the hood. So, you know, very posable and, you know, kind of manage that however you want. Then you have this staff, and, you know, similar to one we've seen in the past, kind of wood at the bottom, tape, goes into the end here, and then you've got some different options. So you can put this topper on it, like this. So that could be the look. You can put this topper on it. It could be like that. Or you can put this topper on it, and it's like basically like a full staff. And this is the one that then could hold the cage if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted them to do that. So 3 different options for the staff here on what you can do with it. You've then got these wings. So the Nymph, I believe on the pictures has these wings here. But you could, you know, either use it on that character or you could save it for another custom or whatever you wanted to do. These are the, I believe the Artemis 2 wings. And yeah, just the little translucent kind of grayscale color scheme. Pretty neat. I'm betting that you could probably dye this too, similar to like people have done with the Hagnons. So if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to have some blue wings or some, you know, red wings or whatever, I'm betting you could probably use some Rit dye and change that color since it is clear. Then you have this blade piece. This is kind of like that brutal, I would say like orc or goblin blade where it has like the spikies in the back. The blade itself is very jagged and it's got a lot of cuts and scrapes in it. So just pretty brutal looking blade. And then the last thing on here is the spell effect. So you've got this like skull kind of coming at you, floating skull, wraps around to where you could put that around a staff, around somebody's arm, whatever. But once again, since it's translucent, I'm sure that you could dye this whatever you wanted. So if you wanted to make this blue, red, green, whatever, you could probably do that. Heck, if you wanted to paint it up and make it look like scaphoid colors, you could do that as well. So yeah, so that is the overall total figure. We will go ahead and rebuild this thing in fast motion. We'll put together all the heads that have, you know, parts that are glued on and stuff. And we'll put together one of the looks first, and then we'll put together the other look. So we'll create the Nymph, I think, first, then we'll take it apart, create the Churel. That way you can see both of those, and we'll go from there. So here we go with fast motion. So here we are with the Nymph build. And man, this thing is just really cool looking. Yeah, this looks really nice. So that is one look. And then to create the Churel look, it's really just adding the waist piece, switching out the head, adding the robe, changing up the staff a little bit. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick off camera, and then I'll be right back to show you what the Churel looks like. All right, and this is the Churel look. So, you know, switched out the waist piece, took off the wings, put on the hooded cloak, changed the topper on the staff, threw that scaphoid head in there with that other top of the staff, and then threw a little spell effect on here. Obviously switched out the head, and there you go. So two completely different characters. They both look amazing. Man, I don't know which one I prefer. I like them both. I guess you just got to get to. So yeah, there you go. The only tricky part I did off camera with this one is you want to try to put the hair into the hood before you put the head on. Otherwise, it's a little bit difficult to get that you know, head on there if the hood's already on. So, but yeah, there we go. So we'll be back with final thoughts in just a moment. All right, so that is going to do it for the Churel / Nymph from the Legionscon Exclusive set. Man, it's just a great figure with a lot of different stuff going on. So, you know, the soft goods are amazing, the build, the parts that, you know, that you can use for other customs and stuff. And then once you build it, you have so many things left over that you can use it for whatever. So, for any of you out there that have not customized, you've not pop and swapped, you have not done any of this, these Legionscon exclusive sets are a great way to get into it because it's got so many extra parts that it is like, you know, it's kind of a customizing toolkit right off the bat. So definitely recommend this thing. Pick up at least 2 so that you can have the Nymph and the Churel, but you may need more than that because it's got a lot of awesome parts that you're going to want to use. So, man, can't recommend this figure enough. This is probably going to be in my top 5 female figures. I really like this, especially this Churel build. Both builds are great, but this Churel build I really love. So, anyway, hope that you liked this video. If you did, we've got a playlist for all the exploded figure reviews. Keep in mind, I'm going to have a laminated picture of the exploded view at my table at Legionscon, table 9. The exclusive table is table 10. So if you're kind of deciding, how many you need to get, you can pop right over to my table, take a look, remind yourself of all the parts, and then make that decision, whatever's best for you. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. Please make sure that you like and subscribe. And until next time, folks, keep creating.